Okay, good afternoon. And hey everyone, my name is Juan, and I'm part of Kleros, the leading justice protocol on Web3. For those that don't know Kleros, Kleros is a decentralized dispute resolution system. Thanks. Kleros is a decentralized dispute resolution system that's live in Ethereum mainnet since 2018. And today I will speak of how we can help to close the justice gap in what I call the Metaverse age. So, okay. Most of you are building awesome dApps on Web3, and you are leveraging yourself on the power of blockchain and smart contracts and technology. But there's one problem that smart contracts cannot solve, because smart contracts are great to say if X happen, do Y, but they cannot really solve subjective problems that eventually require human judgment. And if we analyze today's world in which most of transactions are doing online and transacts on marketplace and even more in crypto, that many of the transactions is done between anonymous avatars in Telegram, Discord, or any social media you can imagine. And we tend to think that there is an enormous opportunity for problems that arise between these subjective discussions that need to be solved, that basically make arise a lot of problems regarding NFTs or whatever problem you can imagine on Web3 or on Web2, and creates a question that we need to solve, that is how the future of the piece will look like. Because in the actual world, companies and governments have a capacity to solve any of the problems that could arise that grows very slowly related to technology, and the amount of cases given this online transaction during all the world grows in a more exponentially enormous way. And that's why we need to have a tool that helps us solve this. And here it comes, Kleros. Let's go with a simple example that is the most basic one. That is basically Alice, that is a French entrepreneur in France, needs to hire someone to do a marketing campaign for his startup, and she hires Bob. She doesn't know if Bob is a real person or not. She knows it because he's an awesome designer on Discord. And she asked to do the marketing campaign on certain quality parameters. Bob accepts, he gets paid beforehand and delivers the work. Where Alice gets the work done, it's nothing to do to what she asked. So she says to Bob, okay, Bob, give me your money, give me my money back, or at least do the work again so I can get what I asked. Bob refuses. He says she has done what she asked for. And what can Alice do in the actual scenario? Alice won't initiate a cross-jurisdiction with an anonymous party dispute. Like, she needs maybe to go to Guatemala or wherever like Bob is located, that she doesn't even know where he is. And even if she could do it, it doesn't make economically sense for a freelance work, and neither regarding time. So let's see how this will work if Alice and Bob use Kleros. Alice will send the money that he will pay Bob to an escrow, a smart contract that works as an escrow, and in case everything goes okay, she will just accept and release the payment to Bob. But in this case, where she's not happy with Bob's work, she will just initiate a dispute that will go to Kleros. And Kleros jurors, that we will go later on how jurors are selected and how we ensure that the quality of the decision is good enough. They will analyze all the evidence of respective cases and come to a decision. And in this case, they saw that Bob did not ask what Alice required on the initial agreement, so Alice get her money back. But you're probably asking how are jurors selected, and how do you ensure they're capable of solving these cases? Let's go to the example of Shana, that is the girl I showed before, that she's an expert on marketing that works in a traditional Web2 company. And she's based maybe in Singapore, and he works from 9 to 18 in a Web2 job, traditional, and when she returns home, she usually works as Kleros juror, and for doing so, she just needed to buy PNK and deposit it on the court she's specialized on. In this case, she went to a non-technical court or to the marketing services. And once she deposits, this is the flow, how you like. You just go to Kleros courts, and you join a court by depositing PNK on the court you are specialized in. As Shona, many people do the same across the world and deposit in this marketing court. And Kleros select randomly a couple of these guys who will be chosen to solve certain case. And here it comes the question of how Kleros incentivize jurors to make sure they have skin in the game and that they will make a rational decision. And for doing so, let me introduce you to Thomas Schelling. If you know it, he won a Nobel Prize in economics, basically explained the concept of Schelling point in his book, The Strategy of Conflict. And instead of explaining the theory, I will just make an example. So if you could please look at the screen and think 10 seconds, 15 seconds to all these numbers. You need to choose one number, and if you choose the same number that all the rest of the people in the crowd, you will win $20. If you don't choose the same number, you won't. So 5 seconds, please think of the number that the others will choose. Okay. So raise your hand, please, who choose 3893? One person, okay. Who choose 2783? No one. And who choose 1000? Awesome, 90% maybe. So that's the Schelling point. Schelling point is a concept of game theory in which different parties, actors, users that don't know and don't trust each other reach consensus, reach a same decision. And if we make a parallelism of the Schelling points on Kleros jurors, and we think that Kleros jurors that are located all around the world and are probably anonymous parties that don't know and don't trust each other, but analyze the same evidence and need to reach the same decision to win money, we ensure to have the most coherent decision in Kleros. That is what we will call the correct decision, but we call the most coherent decision. And this will create a scenario in which honest user on average will make money, while dishonest users that are trying to gain the system, and maybe they stake on a court they are not specialized in, or they just vote randomly without analyzing the case, will lose money. And why they will lose money? Because not only they won't win the arbitration fees, that is opportunity cost enormous because just for using some of the time you win some if, but they will also lose a small stake of PNK they have deposited in the court. And in case we have a very incoherent decision, we have an appeal system basically in which if one of both parties is not happy with the decision, it can go to a next round in which it will be twice the jurors plus one. And at the end, the ultimate result on the last round will be the one that matters. So this is how it look like. Bob, that is the losing party, and paid arbitration fees. And the PNK from the incoherent juror go to the coherent jurors who gets the arbitration fees from the losing party plus the PNK from the incoherent jurors. And let's see one example of why Kleros can solve closing the justice gap on the online world we lived on using game theory and blockchain. We'll know about any random Pepe tokens and how easy it is to issue an ERC20 token and trade it on Uniswap, and the amount of risk that users on DeFi face. And the crypto assets grow last years in an exponential speed, while the capacity stays the same to face these fake tokens. And let's see what can Kleros do to solve this and help exchanges, for example, to have a curated list of tokens that fulfill certain parameters. And I present the curate list of tokens of Kleros that was built for Bitfinex, where basically there is a parameter, a list that Bitfinex submits, that every token that wants to be listed needs to fulfill certain parameters. And any user, if you are building your startup and you have your token, you can submit it to Kleros lists. If it accepts it, it goes to Bitfinex. If not, it's not. And for doing so, she submits the token, and Lib submits if as a deposit. And it goes for an optimistic process in which, in certain amount of days, it doesn't get challenged, it just gets accepted into the list, and is listed on Bitfinex. But if a malicious actor enters and deposits Ether and doesn't fulfill the deposit and submits a token depositing Ether as his collateral, and it's a malicious token which doesn't fulfill certain parameters, it can get challenged. And what happened is that the community, a member of the community, will challenge it, and this will create a case on Kleros, and the jurors will see that it's a fake token and will reject it from the list. And the challenger will stay with the Ether of the malicious actor, and the curate list will stay healthy. And there's a small case that is called the bear chain case, in which a scam protocol want to list bear, and one of the requirements was to have the team doxed, and one of the guys on her LinkedIn told it worked in Oxford, it studied in Oxford in a blockchain research laboratory, and it was really true. A member of the community did call Oxford because he had studied there and doesn't remember this blockchain studio exists, and they challenged it because it was fake and it didn't enter the list. And 9 months later, the government of China discovered bear chain was a scam in a much slower way than Kleros did. So at the end, Kleros is much more efficient, not only regarding time, but also cost, while providing the transparency blockchain gives us. And yes, there are many simple problems and disputes that could be solved with AI, and many other more complex problems like murder cases that won't be solved by Kleros. But there is a middle point in which Kleros is the best answer for solving not so big amount of disputes cross jurisdiction between anonymous parties. And this will help us to go from actual scenario we are in to raise the justice capacity of companies, governments, or whatever needs to do it, and have a better ecosystem with a more justice dispute resolution system. And this is just a random tweet I liked that talks about what Kleros have done since launch. And we have more than almost 800 euros, more than 1,500 disputes, and cases with more than $1 million. And this is just the beginning. And some of Kleros products and use case that interact with all this dispute resolution system we have created is great, that basically anyone can create and interact with permissionless lists and create products on top of this, like Proof Humanity, that is an iteration of Curate, where if you want to be proof you're a human, you just submit your profile, fulfilling certain conditions, and you get identified. Kleros Moderate, that helps moderate social media in your protocol or whatever company you work in. Bea, that is a trust minimized bridge that allows messages to be sent between different networks. And Lingua, for example, that is also like some iteration of to create good translations that basically is a simple and easy to use dApp to submit translations. And soon we will have B2. We have been working a lot last years and in the next model of Kleros, but I won't talk about this in this presentation. But if you're interested, reach out. And also, if you're interested on education and know any university or any workshop, academy that is interested on having practical use case on how blockchain can have real use case and useful, and yeah, reach out, that we are deeply involved and we are happy to help with. So that's it. Thanks for all. And yeah, in case you have any questions, let me know or reach out later. Thanks, guys. Questions? No.